It's Thursday, the 5th of October. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel. And on Tuesday evening, the 3rd of October, a Piper PA-44 Seminole went down from the Hillsboro Aero Academy over Newburg, Oregon, resulting in 2 fatalities. Here's what we know so far. A Piper PA-44 180 Seminole, November 8360 kilo, was destroyed when it impacted a residential structure in Newburg, Oregon. 2 occupants sustained fatal injuries and the other sustained serious injuries and was airlifted to the hospital. There were no ground injuries. An online video shows the aircraft in a fully developed spin before impact. And here in a statement from the Hillsboro Aero Academy, we at Hillsboro Aero Academy are deeply saddened to report an aircraft accident that resulted in the deaths of 2 members of our aviation community and serious injury to a third. We can confirm that one of our aircraft on a training flight crashed near the town of Newburg, Oregon. So it was on a training flight. Let's check it out. There is eyewitness video of the crash showing the Piper Seminole in a fully developed spin prior to impact of the house. If you have any video evidence of this crash, which apparently there are several videos of, please make sure you get it to the NTSB. Contact them at witness@ntsb.gov. From my first preliminary review of this video, it appears to me that the aircraft is in a fully developed spin, and it looks like all the parts of the aircraft are on the aircraft. Here's a picture of the accident aircraft, November 8360 kilo, a 1981 Piper Seminole twin-engine training airplane with counter-rotating props, 1981, owned by the Hillsboro Aero Academy, with the 0360 180 horse engines with counter-rotating propellers, meaning there's technically no critical engine on this particular design. On board the aircraft was a 22-year-old flight instructor from Crema, Italy. In the left seat was a private pilot, rated pilot 20 years old, who was working on his multi-engine rating. And in the back was another private pilot, rated pilot 20 years old, that was considering starting the multi-engine program here. There were people home inside this house at the time of the crash. There were no injuries on the ground and no post-crash fire. Preliminary ADS-B data from Flightaware.com indicates the aircraft coming out of Portland Hillsboro Airport, proceeding to the south, then performing a series of maneuvers, speed down to, well, there's 61 miles per hour of ground speed, speed back up, speed back down, speed back up, altitude, let's see, we got 6,500 feet here, then down to 4,700 feet here, speed varying in the turns, ground speed, that is, 5,000 feet, 175 miles an hour, and then straight ahead with the speed decaying down to 60 miles per hour or less at the end of the data. Hillsboro Aero Academy is a large training school here in the Portland area, and it's what I call an ab initio training program for the airlines. And this particular program is apparently a ab initio training program for Alaska Airlines. And with the huge pilot shortage that's going on right now, these are the sort of programs airlines have had to set up in order to satisfy the requirements for pilots in the future. So they've partnered up with these different training programs to provide a steady stream of pilots and a financial program to get them quickly through all of their ratings and get them a job working. Well, initially they come out working as a flight instructor for the very same training program that they got their ratings at. So they're building up their time to get the 1,600 hours so that they can go on to the airlines. These are great programs, and generally they're a very safe program to get our new young pilots safely through their flight training program. But when you go To get your multi-engine rating, you have to go through a series of maneuvers called vmca demo, or minimum controllable airspeed demo. A twin-engine airplane can inherently be more dangerous than a single-engine airplane, particularly these light twin-engine airplanes like the 310 that I own, and they require a high degree of proficiency and respect and flying them by the numbers in order to remain safe in these airplanes. And sometimes these VMCA maneuvers can go bad. Let's check it out. Remember back about a year or so ago, our own local DPE, Richard Conti, a very, very experienced pilot, was killed in a VMCA demo or twin engine training maneuvers here in the Northern California area. So this can get you whether you're very experienced or have very little experience. Some 30 years ago, I took my military equivalency ATP ride in a Piper Seminole just like this through this program, ATP. And let's review the hazards of a VMCA demo. This is something you have to do as part of your training. Learning to fly the aircraft on one engine and learning at what minimum speed you can safely operate this aircraft. Remember, you can stall an aircraft at any airspeed or any attitude, but at only one critical angle of attack. And what are the two ingredients to a spin, stall, and yaw? So when you're doing a VMCA demo in a light twin, you are very close to spinning the aircraft and can easily spin the aircraft. Why? Because you've got one engine out, one engine operating, you've got a lot of adverse yaw kicked into the airplane as you're trying to maintain directional control with the aircraft. At the same time, you're slowing it down to determine what's the minimum airspeed that you can no longer hold your heading on with this aircraft. Very, very close to a spin. And aircraft like the Seminole have such a low VMCA speed that it may very well stall first before it even reaches min controllable airspeed. One of the many things the NTSB will be looking at, and they'll be looking at everything, is the center of gravity. The third person on board sitting behind the two pilots. I don't remember having a third person on board when doing this training in the past. What is the effect of a forward or aft center of gravity on VMC? Well, the farther forward your center of gravity is, the lower your VMC will be, because the greater the moment arm is on the rudder, making the rudder effectively more powerful, or a stronger rudder. So you can fly it at an even lower speed before you lose directional control of the aircraft with a forward CG. With a more aft CG, you're going to reach that minimum controllable airspeed at a higher value, a higher number, a higher speed. Intentional spins in the Seminole and in most light multi-engine aircraft is a prohibited maneuver per the AC 61-67, because with the multi-engine aircraft you've got so much mass outside of the center line of the fuselage, you're fueling the wings and the two engines, that once that aircraft begins spinning, you've got a lot of inertia to attempt to stop with that rudder. However, if a spin does occur, spin recovery is conventional in a twin-engine aircraft. Retard the throttles to idle, rudder in the opposite direction of the spin, control wheel release the back pressure, control wheel full forward if the nose does not drop. You want to get the nose down into the cone of recovery. Ailerons neutral. Make sure the ailerons are neutral, because anything other than neutral is just going to exacerbate the whole situation. Step 6, rudder neutralize when the rotation stops, and step 7, control wheel smooth recovery. So the flight instructor in the right seat, nobody teaches spins anymore in a standard private, well, very few people. It's not required to teach spins as a private pilot. However, as a CFI, you are required to demonstrate spins. So the CFI in the right seat at least had at some point in his short career did get exposed to spins and spin recovery. And the aircraft was operated at the recommended altitude for the manual here to be conducting these maneuvers to begin with. So had they caught this If this was in fact a VMCA demo gone bad, and had they caught this early enough in the recovery, they could have easily recovered the aircraft. Once the spin really gets developed and you've lost enough altitude, you simply don't have enough altitude to recover once you're down to a couple thousand feet or so. Because this is such a delicate maneuver, many instructors will physically block the amount of rudder travel coming into the maneuver so that you'll reach VMCA at a much higher speed, safely away from a stall speed or a stall spin scenario. What are some of you guys out there in the field doing these days, doing these VMCA demos? What are you doing to mitigate the risks of doing this required maneuver? And it's imperative that we all get training in this and that we all continue to practice it so that we know the limits of the aircraft and not get too close to the dangerous edge of the envelope. So NTSB investigators will be looking at everything. Hopefully this was equipped with Garmin 1000 avionics. There may be some data on the avionics that they can use. They'll also be looking for flight control continuity. One of the things that can prevent you from recovering from a spin is if the rudder cable breaks or if the elevator stabilator cable breaks. That could be a problem from recovering from a spin. But other than that, it's hard to tell. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you here.